Hello, this is Matt Cannon with my thoughts of the day. I'm out here in nature at the moment. It's pretty warm out here, but it's very nice. And I want to just talk for a few minutes. I'm actually going to talk about something a little bit different to start off. And I'm going to just give a quick prediction. There's a big fight happening tonight. It's going to be UFC 244. You have Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, and it's going to be they're fighting for a belt that didn't exist until just recently, called the BMF belt, the baddest motherfucker belt. And I kind of want to use that fight as an analogy for what my thought of the day. And the fight is one that's going to be really, really good. I totally think it's going to be a great fight. It's different. I think both fighters are really skilled. I mean, it's going to be bonkers in terms of a production. You got The Rock, Dwayne Johnson there. He's going to be giving away the belt. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is also supposed to be there, which is crazy. You'd have a sitting president watching a UFC fight. You're going to have many other stars and celebrities. But I got a prediction. And the prediction is this, that the one who's going to win is the one who wants it least. The one who's going to win is the one who is embracing the process versus the outcome. The one who's going to win that fight tonight is going to be the one who understands this principle that I'm going to discuss. And it's the principle of the process. And Heraclitus said, there is nothing constant but change. He also says, you never step in the same river twice. Think about it. When you step in a river, it's always a different river than the previous time you stepped in it, because it's in a constant state of change. And the process is what matters. This persistence of the process is what I've been thinking about. That's my thought of the day, is the persistence of the process. And I started off with a prediction, but I want to also give you a few ideas to think about. I want to give you a few details, and I haven't actually given you who I think is going to win yet. I will give you my guess on who's going to win based on what I've seen so far. And it has nothing to do with one being a better fighter than another, because I think they're both great fighters. It doesn't have anything to do with me liking one more than the other, because I think they both got some qualities that I really admire with each of them. But it has to do with the process. So the process is something that's consistent. There's nothing constant but change. What we often do in life is we look at the outcome. We look at the destination, and we miss the journey. Gary Vaynerchuk, known better as Gary V, has a goal to buy the New York Jets. That's kind of like his dream and his vision. But he'll tell you straight up that it's not so much the end goal of buying the Jets that matters. It's the journey. It's the process. He's in love with the process. He likes just the way that everything is going. He just appreciates the game of the process. And I predict that of those two fighters, the one who's having the most enjoyment of the process and is embracing the process more is most likely going to be the one that's going to come out victorious. And I started off by saying the one who wants it less is probably going to get it. And it's the same thing in life, relationships, negotiations. The person who has the most expectations and is so focused on the end goal, they're not focused on the here and now. And that's a problem. When you're so focused on the end that you don't pay attention to the process and the journey, you can't focus on that moment that you're in right now, you're missing so much. So I want to encourage you to just be laser focused, to come into a place where you just step back and you learn to embrace the process, the journey. A lot of people who have done great things in life, one who comes to mind is Leonardo da Vinci. When Leonardo da Vinci passed away, a lot of people viewed him in that moment that he kind of failed. He didn't leave as much of a legacy as people would have expected with his potential. But he was someone who understood the process. And so if you look at his notebooks, riddled with half-done things, ideas, thrown out ideas here, thrown out ideas here. He never really had the goal, at least as far as I've read in my research of him, to become some great figure like he's become. Like hundreds of years after his death, we're still going through his materials and learning new things, learning how advanced he was for his time. He understood the process. If you're so focused on a legacy and you're so focused on what people will say about you at your funeral that you're trying to get all these things just right, or if you're so focused on just getting that perfect relationship, that perfect job, that promotion, or that belt, this BMF belt, I would say the person who wants it more is likely the one who's not going to get it. The person who wants it less, they're both great fighters, but the person who wants it less and who's actually just embracing the journey and the process is probably the one who's going to get it. And I don't mean, it's counterintuitive, right? Most of us think the more you want it, we know that we're in a state of visualization. You got to raise your hands up like you've already won the victory type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But pay attention to the focus. When someone's in flow state and they're actually focused and they're paying attention to all these things, those are the ones you want to pay attention to. And so the persistency of the process never ends, but most of us are we're either looking back and we're focusing on the things that happened in the past, or we're looking forward and we're expecting that we're going to get to a place someday in the future. And oftentimes when we get to that place in the future, we get to that maybe mountaintop experience where we get this victory, then we end up slowly but surely creeping into the valley. Now we're in the valley, and then we start working our way back up to get to the mountaintop again. Once you understand the ability to go two extremes, and you could be winning no matter what, the people who are winning are the ones who appreciate and embrace the process. Then the outcome is not as important. And the ironic thing of it is the less you pay attention to the outcome and the more you pay attention to the journey and the focus of the process, the more likely you are to actually get good results in the outcome. So you have to take a step back and be your best version of yourself. You have to focus on the process. So my reminder for today is to really embrace the process. Whatever you're in, maybe you're maybe potentially going to get some type of promotion or opportunity. Don't be so worried about the end goal. Maybe you're investing and you're seeing the stock market doing good and you're just thinking about the future. Maybe you're trying to hit a certain number, but don't worry about that number. Don't focus on that. Maybe you're in you're embarking on a potential relationship and you're thinking way in advance. I like a thing that Jim Rohn says, and he says you have to finish before you start. And I really like it, but I'm going to kind of go against it. The idea of finishing before you start is you have to architect and see what you want at the end before you actually start building. Like if you're going to build a hotel, you're not going to necessarily just start throwing stuff together and see what comes out of it. But the difference is it's okay to build in your mind what you ultimately want, but you have to be present with the process. You have to embrace the journey. You have to embrace just the details of you're going through this and really love it, enjoy it. When you do that, you can't help but win regardless of the outcome, because you're going to be much more relaxed, you're going to be much more capable. When a fighter is relaxed, he actually performs much better versus someone who's all pent up and they're all anxious and they're stressed type of thing. They're not going to perform as well. I was listening to Tim Ferriss on his podcast, and someone was being interviewed, and he was basically saying he went into a dressing room and Floyd Mayweather was there before a big fight. He may have been fighting in Madison Square Garden like the fight is going to be in Madison Square Garden tonight. I find it funny that Madison Square Garden initials are MSG, which is like a product in food, in Chinese food a lot of times, and different types of food that's not good for you, but it's Madison Square Garden is MSG. That's a squirrel moment, so I kind of went off the path a little bit. But here he was, Floyd Mayweather was getting ready to fight, and the person came and talked to him and felt like they were intruding in on their space. They said, "Hey, Floyd, you know, I just want to come wish you well on the fight. And he just couldn't help but see that he was calm. And Floyd said, no, come on, sit down. Come sit down and relax for a bit. And he says, I don't want to take away from your attention and your focus. And he basically said, I've been preparing for this. There's nothing that I'm going to be able to do. The best I can do is just be relaxed and focused right now, that I've done everything I can. And being focused in this moment is what's going to be the key. So with all of that said, pay attention to the process, focus on what you want to do, and embrace it. Don't be so worried about the outcome. But with that said, what do I think the outcome of tonight's fight is going to be? I'm actually, just based on what I've saw so far, and this could change, and again, whether I get the prediction right or not doesn't matter, but based on at least the face-off that they had the other day, I'm going to go with Nate Diaz, because he basically went up there and he was focusing on his brother being the best, and he didn't really pay attention. He didn't care about the belt, where Jorge was basically talking about Roberto Duran was going to be there, and he was just excited about it. He was just super stoked about the belt. So my prediction is, just based on this principle, that we're going to see Diaz with a win. But this is Matt Cannon. These are my thoughts of the day. Signing out.